Alrighty, what is going on, and welcome back to another episode of After the Buzzer. We had two really good games today between the Mavericks and Clippers and Hawks and Sixers. Two of the best words in sports history. Game number 7 between the Mavs and Clippers, which is what we're going to start out with. Luka Doncic is just unbelievable. Dropped nearly 50 points, being 46 on this Clippers team, and he's just been a nightmare for them all season, all his career, including last season when he hit a game winner over Reggie Jackson in game number 4 or 5, I believe. And since that series, he's just been a nightmare for this Los Angeles team. But the Clippers get revenge. I mean, they still got revenge last season technically, but they wanted to get extra revenge. Beat them in 7-2. The Mavericks went up 2-0 in this series after the first two games, of course, and that is a hard hole to get out of if you're the Clippers. But they ended up coming back, winning 2 games in a row, and the series, boom, just like that, the series was tied 2-2. We've got a game 5, the most important game of the series, at least until game 7 if it goes, and the Mavericks end up winning. It looks like they have a clear path to win, whether they won game 6 or the Clippers even won game 6. But here we go. The Clippers win game 6, and we're moving on to a game 7. And the Clippers win 2 games in a row, twice in elimination game, and they move on to the second round to face the Jazz. It's going to be difficult facing this Utah team, especially in Utah, considering they've had multiple weeks off since their Grizzlies series, and the Clippers are just coming off of an intense 7-game series between the Mavericks and themselves. But Luka Doncic cannot be stopped. Hit a 5 threes, nearly 50 points at 46, but Kristaps Porzingis was the depending factor in this game. He only had 16 points, had 11 boards, but still, those 16 points are not really going to matter, especially with that big contract. It's literally looking like he is a negative value, and if you got to put up more than 16 points to get past this Clippers team, Boban is inserted into the starting lineup during game number 5, maybe 6 it was. He had 14 points and 10 rebounds. And Tim Hardaway Jr. kind of struggled, was 1 for 9 from 3, which was one of the main reasons why the Mavericks lost this game. He had 11, and then Dorian Finney-Smith had 18 himself. And nobody really else than Luka Doncic was really scoring the ball consistently, other than you can throw in probably Dorian Finney-Smith in there. But Luka Doncic is literally the second coming of Jesus, and he's just an absolute insane basketball player. It's going to be insane to see him develop into the future. If he's only doing this on his rookie contract, I can only imagine what he's going to be like in literally 5 years. But I can literally confirm that the Mavericks will at least make the Western Conference Finals next season. Maybe not confirm, but I have a feeling that they could definitely go that far with Luka Doncic. And if KP plays like he could, then there's definitely a chance. But the Clipper side, Kawhi Leonard dropped 28. He did all he could. Paul George had 22 points. He also had 10 assists, which was pretty surprising to me because he was looking like a pretty big playmaker out here. Had a double-double, like I said, with 22 and 10. Also had 6 rebounds in there, too. And Marcus Morris was on. I'm telling you, he was on. 7 for 9 from three-point range and 23 points. And nobody really else. I guess Terrence Mann had a pretty nice game off the bench, but if I'm telling you, if last year's Clippers team was in this situation in a Game 7 with this Mavericks team, they probably would have lost just because based on their experience with each other only being one season, including a ton of the season kind of torn apart because of COVID. But they were able to regroup themselves and beat this tough team with Luka Doncic and guys like Porzingis and Dorian Finney-Smith and Tim Hardaway and Boban, and maybe not Boban but his height makes it incredibly hard. Kleba, Dwight Powell, and Trey Burke, and Jalen Brunson, and Josh Richardson. But one thing I found interesting is literally that DeMarcus Cousins and Zubac literally do not play at all whatsoever. Zubac had 3 minutes this game. DeMarcus Cousins has not even been playing. Pat Bev has not even been playing whatsoever at all, except for the fact that they're putting in Luke Kennard for a ton of minutes. And Luke Kennard did have a pretty good game, was pretty spot on from 360% with 11 points. But it's going to be interesting to see this Clippers team play in Utah, especially with their home crowd being so loud and coming off of a extremely tough 7-game series between the Mavericks and them. Moving on to the next game and the last game of the day between the Hawks and Sixers. This one was just an extreme blowout at the start. Hawks were leading by 15 points at the end of the first quarter, then extending it to 20-point lead at halftime. It was cut short to 16 at the end of the third. Looked like it was kind of game over. The Sixers rallied back to make it almost like it was like a 3-point game or so, and then the Hawks led by like something like 7, like with 30 seconds left. The Sixers came back all the way. Bogdanovich hit a clutch shot for Atlanta, and that basically sealed it. Some presses here and there led the Sixers to coming back. Literally, it was just such a close game at the end, but the Hawks ended up winning 128 to 124 with John Collins hitting the final clutch free throws. But I mean, listen, it was Trae Young once again. He wasn't even he was cooking and he had like 4 threes in a row, but other than those 4 threes, he wasn't really hitting too many big time shots. He's still, of course, the player he is. Ended up with 35 points and 10 assists. John Collins was another big factor with 3 threes and had 21 points. And like I said, Bogdanovich came up clutch at the end. He had 21 points himself. And I mean, this Hawks team is looking really, really nice defensively and offensively. Between you have guys like Trae Young on the offensive end, then you have Bogdanovich, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, who DeAndre Hunter didn't play, Cam Reddish didn't play either. Now, DeAndre Hunter, it says did not play because of, oh, here he goes, did not play because of an injury, sore right knee. So if they even have him back, and then also including Cam Reddish, who I'm not really what's the case with, what's the case with Cam Reddish? Okay, so it looks like Cam Reddish has been injured, but he's closing in on a return, so he might be playing, he might be coming back in game 2 or 3 possibly, which will be a huge good news for Atlanta at least. And the Phillies Sixers really had a healthy team. I mean, Embiid played this game, of course. He had 39 himself, and being 14 of those being free throws, just going to throw out there. Tobias Harris had a double-double, being 20 and 10, and Seth Curry also had 21. So it really wasn't that bad of a game from Philly, but it was their defense that was the problem. Like I said, had no answer really for Trae Young, who had 35 points. Bogey had 21, and John Collins had 21. And Kevin Huerter off the bench, like I said, he's also a huge help defensively and offensively. He had 15, was 3 for 6 from 3-point range, and I mean, like, they started the game off with Danny Green on Trae Young, which is not the answer. I'm telling you, you cannot have Danny Green on Trae Young. It's gonna have to be a guy like Ben Simmons, and as soon as they put Simmons on Trae Young, he was kind of limited to scoring in that second half. But then you would have guys like Bogey and John Collins and Clint Capella who are also able to score the ball. So it's going to be tough for Philly to bounce back, but we saw the Jazz do it. We saw the Clippers end up doing it. I'm trying to think, we saw a couple of teams bounce back from 1-0, but if the Hawks can keep playing like this, and not that the Hawks played tremendous defense at all either, but they did stop them a lot in the first. And I mean, like, I'm looking at this box score. Philly put up 27, 27, 29, and 41, while Atlanta put up 42, 35, 42, 32, 25, and 29. So neither team played tremendous defense, but Philly just needs to step up their defense, and I think that they should be good in this series, but it's, like I said, it's tough preventing this Atlanta Hawks offense with Gallinari, Lou Williams, Kevin Huerter, John Collins, Trae Young, Bogey. So it'll be fun to see game 2, whether the Philly Sixers can come back in the series and tie it again, or whether the Hawks can take a commanding 2-0 lead. But that will wrap up the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.